They told her never open the door to room 6. But curiosity always costs more than you expect, especially in Ashford House. Welcome to Whispering Image. Tonight's tale is about an old boarding house, a missing photographer, and a room that should have stayed locked. Turn the lights off, if you dare. The story name is The Last Room on Ashford Lane. This is a real story. Evelyn Granger had always been drawn to forgotten places. As a freelance photographer specializing in abandoned architecture, she spent her weekends exploring dust-covered relics of the past. So when her college friend, Lucas, mentioned an old boarding house on Ashford Lane slated for demolition, she didn't hesitate. "It's been empty for decades," Lucas said. "The locals say no one stays the night there. Something about the last room on the 3rd floor." Evelyn laughed. "Every town has its ghost story. Sounds like great material for my portfolio." They drove up on a gray October afternoon, the kind of day where the clouds hung so low they seemed to press against the roofs. The boarding house loomed ahead, 3 stories of rotting wood, shattered windows, and a front porch sagging under its own weight. The sign above the door, once gold-lettered, now read in flaking paint, Ashford House, established 1904. The first signs. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of mildew and something faintly metallic, like rust or blood. Floorboards groaned under their weight. Wallpaper peeled in curling strips, revealing layers of faded patterns, like the house had shed multiple skins over the decades. Evelyn snapped photos while Lucas wandered ahead. "You ever notice how quiet it is?" he whispered after a while. "No birds, no wind." Evelyn adjusted her lens. "Old houses absorb sound. It's just..." A loud slam echoed from upstairs. They froze. Lucas grinned nervously, probably just a shutter banging, but when they climbed the staircase, every window was intact. The portraits. On the 2nd floor, they found a hallway lined with framed photographs. Each showed the same pale, stern-faced woman in a high-collared dress. In every frame, her eyes seemed to follow them. Evelyn leaned in for a shot, then frowned. "Lucas, these are all slightly different. In one, the woman's head tilted an inch to the left. In another, her lips curved into the faintest smirk. And in the last photo, her mouth was open, wide enough to reveal teeth far too sharp for a human." Lucas exhaled sharply. "Okay, that's, weird." The last room was colder. The air stung their skin like the inside of a freezer. At the end of the hall stood a single door, painted black. A tarnished brass plate read, "Room 6. "This must be it," Lucas said. Evelyn knocked jokingly. "Housekeeping!" The door creaked open on its own. Inside was a small, dimly lit room, a bed with a sunken mattress, a wardrobe leaning at an unnatural angle, and in the corner, a single wooden chair facing the wall. Evelyn's breath caught. Someone was sitting in it. "Hello?" she called. The figure didn't move. It was a woman in a long gray dress, her black hair hanging in front of her face. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap. Lucas stepped forward. "Ma'am, we didn't mean to..." The woman's head twitched violently to the side, revealing a face that wasn't entirely right. Her skin was waxy and too tight over her bones. Her eyes were completely white, yet they seemed to lock on to Evelyn. Evelyn lifted her camera on instinct and snapped a photo. The flash filled the room. When her vision cleared, the chair was empty.
The descent. Neither of them spoke as they backed out of room 6 and hurried toward the stairs. But the house had changed. The hallways seemed longer than before, the wallpaper now slick and dark as if wet. The photographs on the second floor were gone, replaced with fresh, glossy prints of Evelyn and Lucas standing in the hallway just minutes ago. In each frame, the pale woman stood a little closer to them. Lucas swore under his breath, "We have to get out of here." They ran for the front door, but when they reached the foyer, the door wasn't there. The space where it had been was now a wall, its wallpaper still wet and dark. The whispering, they heard it then, a faint, breathy sound, like someone whispering just behind them. Evelyn turned, but saw nothing. The whisper came again, clearer this time. "Stay." Lucas grabbed her wrist. "The window!" They ran into the parlor and smashed at the glass with a chair. It didn't break, it rippled as though they were hitting water. The whisper grew into a chorus surrounding them. "Room 6, room 6. The final choice. They bolted up the stairs without thinking, the whispers hurting them. The air thickened, pressing in on their chests. When they reached the third floor, room 6 stood wide open. The chair was now facing the door, waiting.
Lucas shook his head. "No way, we're not going in there." But Evelyn felt something pulling her forward. She stepped inside, her camera still clutched in her hands. The moment she crossed the threshold, the whispers stopped. The room was warm now, comforting. Lucas's voice was distant. "Evelyn, we should go." She turned to tell him she was fine, but the door slammed shut between them. Lucas's escape. Lucas pounded on the door, shouting her name, but there was no answer. After what felt like hours, the door creaked open. The room was empty. The chair was gone. Shaking, Lucas fled. This time the stairs led him directly to the front door. He burst out into the gray afternoon, gulping the damp air. He didn't stop running until he reached his car.
The photograph. A week later, Lucas sat in his apartment, nursing a glass of whiskey. He told no one what happened. Who would believe him? But he kept Evelyn's camera, hoping maybe the photos could explain something. When he finally gathered the courage to look, most shots were blurred, except for the last one. It showed room 6, perfectly in focus. The woman in the gray dress sat in the chair, her face hidden by hair. But this time, Evelyn was sitting beside her, her eyes completely white, lips curved into a sharp-toothed smile. If you enjoyed this story, remember, the next whisper you hear might be calling your name. Subscribe before the lights go out.